Mr. Speaker and colleagues, our budget for 25-26 and the priorities are as follows. Boosting household incomes and micro-enterprises. In the coming budget, government has allocated 72.376 trillion as follows. And these are some of the areas. One, in order to boost household incomes as well as the development of micro-enterprises, the following budget allocations have been proposed by government and are be first. PDM, Uganda shillings 1.075 trillion. Emioga, 100 billion. Support Microfinance Support Center, 76.67 billion, of which 30 billion is for onward lending and 10 billion is for specific interest groups. In order to enhance youth and women participation in development, Uganda shillings 23.66 billion has been allocated to Uganda Women Entrepreneurship Program, WEP, and Youth Livelihood Program, YLP. 3 billion has been allocated to Uakali enterprises to transition into formal economy, and 5 billion as enterprise fund for older persons. Generating growth opportunities and productivity for women enterprises, GROW. Government is allocating 231.33 billion. Uganda shillings 147.1 billion to Uganda Development Corporation. Uganda shillings 121.16 billion to social assistance grants for the elderly, SAGE, and 16 billion for special grants for persons with disability. Uganda shillings 1.4 trillion for domestic areas for the financial year 2025-26. Cattle compensation for Asholi, Lango, Teso, Abin, totaling to 80 billion Uganda shillings. Industrialization and private sector development. Shilling 275.09 billion for small and medium enterprise in the manufacturing and export sectors through the Investment for Industrial Transformation and Employment Invite Program. 2. Uganda shillings 90.97 billion for infrastructure development of industrial parks. 3. 47.8 billion for capitalization of the agricultural credit facilities to support farmers, but mainly agro-processors that focus on value addition. Number 4, 414.74 billion for capitalization of Uganda Development Bank, in line with the line for credit. This will support the entire agricultural ecosystem, the private sector players, to increase the stock and quality of tourism facilities, financing of the local production of essential goods as precursor to achieving import substitution, among others. Number 5, Uganda shillings 210.17 billion has been allocated towards the Resource Enhancement and Accountability Program, REAP, with the objective of increasing resource mobilization, improvement planning, and public investment management, and strengthen accountability for quality, effective, and efficient service delivery. Commercializing agriculture. Colleagues and Madam Speaker, these are the priorities proposed. Breeding, production, multiplication, and availing animal seed and poultry to farmers across the country. NAGRIC and DB, Uganda shillings 96.05 billion. B, animal feed production on government ranches and farms, that's NAGRIC and DB. Again, Uganda shillings 25.5 billion. So those people who steal our cows from NAGRIC should stop. C, development of anti-stick vaccine, STI, Uganda shillings 5 billion. D, research products and services suited for food, feed, market, and industry, NARO, Uganda shillings 24.1 billion. E, improving access and use of agricultural equipment and mechanization through the use of labor-saving technologies under Ministry of Agriculture, Uganda shillings 56.14 billion. F, the National Oil Palm Project under Ministry of Agriculture, Uganda shillings 70.72 billion. G, Agriculture Will Shared Development, again under Ministry of Agriculture, Uganda shillings 73.25 billion. H, enhancing agricultural production, quality, and standards for market. Enhancing agricultural production, quality, and standards for market access project, MAIF, under Ministry of Agriculture. Uganda actually is 111.35 billion. I, the National Oil Seed Project under Ministry of Agriculture, 83.46 billion. J, Uganda Climate Smart Agriculture Transformation Project is provided 176.32 billion. K, coffee seedlings to northern Uganda, Uganda shillings 60 billion. This is the very first time. So northern Uganda has to embrace coffee production and enhance the economy of Uganda. So that's it. Now we are going to get also the seedlings. Transformative transport infrastructure development. 1. The construction of the standard gauge railway. The provision is there, Uganda shilling 2,175.29 billion. 2. Construction, upgrade, and rehabilitation of national roads and bridges. Uganda shilling 2,201.34 billion. Some of these include Oima Wanseko Road, Uganda shilling 185.47 billion. B. Construction of 66 selected bridges, Uganda shilling 30.61 billion. Those of you, the reports are annexed on the list of bridges is there. Rwenkunye Apache Lera Asholibu Road, Uganda shillings 166.25 billion. D. Kisoro Nkuringo Rubugiri Muko Road, Uganda shillings 1,260.98 billion. That's a long road. 1,206.1. E. Moyo Yumbe Koboko Road, 125.08 billion. F. Rehabilitation of Mitiana Mubende Road, 100 kilometers, Uganda shillings 21 billion. G. Proposed upgrading of Chenjojo, that's Kirora, Buzi, Ramanja, Kahwinge, 68 kilometers, Mpara, Buizi, 37 kilometers, Uganda shillings 109.14 billion. H. Upgrading of Iganga, Buloba, Kamuli Road, 57.2 kilometers, Uganda shillings 42.55 billion. Colleagues, the list is there. The list is in the list of the high impact projects is in the report. I just conclude by saying there is also rehabilitation of district, urban, and community access roads, which will continue at the Ministry of Works and Transport. So, Buka Roads, 91.78 billion. And the road fund management has also been given 91.78 billion. Following the Artemis strategy, tourism has been boosted. Tourism development, Uganda shillings 11.16 billion for the Mount Rwenzori tourism infrastructure. This includes improving the existing trails and establishing shorter ones, improving the existing bridges, taking into consideration the issue of the flash floods, providing more eco-friendly accommodation facilities, improving safety of tourists by establishing the rest points along the trails, among others. B. Uganda shillings 21.52 billion for the development of the museums and heritage sites for cultural tourism. C. Uganda shillings 10.15 billion for the development of the source of the Nile tourism infrastructure. That includes construction of the modern piers, docking places for both and other amenities. Human capital development on health. A few highlights are here. Some of the highlights include Uganda shillings 1,012.19 billion for Global Fund for TB, AIDS, and malaria. 2. Uganda shillings 194.2 billion for Gavi vaccines and health sector management. 3. Uganda shillings 57.89 billion towards Uganda COVID-19 response and emergency preparedness. 4. Uganda shillings 65.65 billion for construction and equipping of the Uganda Heart Institute. 5. 42.14 billion towards infrastructure development at Uganda Cancer Institute. 6. 116.94 billion towards rehabilitation and construction of general hospitals. This is a new resource to all the general hospitals in the country, a sum of 116.94 billion for rehabilitation and construction of facilities across the country. Number 7 is 30.75 billion for establishment of regional oncology and diagnostic centers in Arua, Mbale, and Mbarara. 8, 623.51 billion for essential medicines and health supplies for all health centers, general hospitals, regional referral hospitals, and national referral hospitals. And colleagues, it's worth noting that, Madam Speaker, the Ministry of Finance has restored 100 billion of the fund that was removed from national medical stars last year. It has been put back in the budget, and this is really a great development, and we thank the Ministry for that. Education. Uganda shillings 244.94 billion towards Uganda Secondary Education Expansion Project Phase 2, 12.87 billion towards the development of primary schools project, 54.44 billion towards funded vocational projects Phase 2, 7 billion towards Uganda National Examination Board Infrastructure Project. On digital transformation, Madam Speaker, also on education, the Ministry of Finance involved that there is a new loan of 200 million that is being prepared to come and cover all the secondary and primary schools in the coming financial years. Digital transformation, Uganda shillings 197.08 billion has been allocated to the government network project towards expanding the digital infrastructure outreach, strengthening digital infrastructure, complements mainstreaming digital services in priority areas, among others. This is really a big move for our country to put 197.0 billion to the network, electronic network. Energy and gas development. Colleagues, Madam Speaker, government plans to provide 686.35 billion towards midstream petroleum infrastructure development. Some of these planned activities include supervision of ECOP construction works in Uganda, development of the government of Uganda ECOP hub in Tanga, and a feasibility study for the natural gas pipeline from Tanzania to Uganda, completion of payment for reallocation of land affected persons along the project pipeline, completion of construction of resettlement houses for the project affected persons, and also embark on refinery EPC activities, among others. Number B, Uganda shillings 346.42 billion for the electricity access scale-up project. The project is intended to increase the proportion of population with access to electricity from 24 to 44% by 2027 through mainly grid expansion and connectivity and network expansion and strengthening. Colleagues, this is a good development to support most of the constituencies where the electricity is not there. Number C, Uganda shillings 34.84 billion towards Karuma hydropower project. B, 26 billion towards Orio mini hydro project and rural electricity project. E, 165.29 billion towards enhanced rural electrification and connectivity across the country. F, 21.79 billion towards construction of 400 kV Karuma Tororo transmission line, the 132 kV in Tinda substation. G, 202.04 Oima Kenyara Kafu 220 kV transmission line and associated substations. H, 15 billion towards liquefied petroleum gas supply and infrastructure development interventions. Madam Speaker and colleagues, on water supply and sanitation. A, Uganda shillings 114.04 towards farm income enhancement and forestry conservation program. 127.95 billion towards irrigation for climate resilience project. 81 billion towards development of solar power irrigation. 81.82 towards investing in forests and protected areas for climate smart agriculture. E, 165.16 towards Kampala Water Lake Victoria and Sardinian project. F, 40.00 towards water service acceleration project. On governance and security, Madam Speaker, government intends to provide 450 billion towards the electoral roadmap. So elections are going to be there. No postponement. Yes. Part B, Madam Speaker and colleagues. Since Madam Speaker, Right Honourable Speaker and members, during the consideration of the committee reports on the ministerial policy statement financial year 25-26, Parliament adopted reallocations in this House for various votes the other week. These reallocations were referred by the Speaker to the Committee on Budget for Harmonization and Reconciliation and Consolidation. Madam Speaker, we beg to report as a committee, and these are observations on those proposals, committee observations. During the harmonization, under vote 013, Minister of Education and Sports, the Committee of Education and Sports recommended that 10 billion be reallocated from educational materials and other services to another area. In interacting with the ministry and the Ministry of Finance, the committee observed that a provision of 24.1 billion had already been allocated for primary education materials, thus reducing the people to textbook ratio from 1.1 to 17 to 1 to 12. Thank you. Semuju, I will tell you the meaning if you can chance to cross the Nile. You have not yet crossed the Nile to that side of Uganda. Allocation of 20.1 billion has been allocated for primary educational materials, has reduced the ratio from 1 to 17 to 1 to 12. Any reduction in this budget will negatively impact on the availability of textbooks, thereby hindering learning outcomes. Furthermore, the roadmap for reviewing the primary curriculum is yet to be concluded by 2030. So, Madam Speaker, we beg that we differ with the allocations there because the program of primary is yet to be concluded by 2030. What we need now is reduce the teacher people ratio, the material to people ratio from 170 to 112, and maybe go 1 to 1. That's the ideal. So we beg that this House adopts that this resource not be reallocated, meaning existing shortfalls must still be addressed, Madam Speaker. Vote 013, Minister of Education and Sports, the committee recommended that under the project 1853, the Uganda Smart Education Project in the 5 institutions of higher learning, that 2 billion be removed and allocated to other areas. In interacting with the ministry, we found out that a project was allocated a budget of Uganda 3.5 billion already, and an additional 2 billion has been allocated in the corrigenda in order to support the project and make it a vital investment and infrastructure in ICT, so that investment in ICT infrastructure in line with the government ATM strategy. Actually, Madam Speaker, instead of reducing by 2, in the corrigenda, government again was proposing to give another 2 billion and in line with the government ATM strategy. This includes construction of smart ICT classrooms, digital enhancement equipment, and training of ICT lecturers in Kiambogo University. That's the detail we found. It was for training of lecturers in Kiambogo University, Mbara University of Science and Technology, Mountains of the Moon University, and Moon Universities. So we recommend that the cut, Madam Speaker, that this House stays that cut. Vote 1. So we say that the cut on this item affects Uganda shilling. This item, vote 013 again, Minister of Education and Sports. Item 221006, commissions and related charges. The committee recommended to remove 1,952 million from recurrent and allocate to other areas. So the cut on this item affects shillings 2.95 billion, which was provided to reimburse mileage allowances for the members of the Education Policy Review Commission for use of personal vehicles on commission work. the cut will result in a partial compensation. So we found it hard, Madam Speaker, to proceed on this because we thought it was just a reimbursement for the EPRC, the Economic Policy Review Commission members. So we still also stay on that change. Vote 103, Minister of Education, item 2208, ICT supplies, 0.5 billion. Here again, we were told that this will be a double cut on the Uganda Smart Education Project and will also affect the procurement of IT supplies under the ministry. Vote 15, Ministry of Trade, Industry and Cooperatives, the salvation of Uganda Development Corporation, money given to be Sika enterprises. The proposal of the committee was to reduce that by 10.87 billion. The committee was informed that the amount proposed for reallocation has already been repurposed and sent to, so the money was already with UDC. It was no longer with the ministry. So, vote 144, Uganda Police Force, Program 16, Project 0385, Key Service Area 000017. There was a proposal of removing money of 52.85 billion from that project and using it for construction. We were informed by the Minister of Finance that this project, instead of closing as proposed by the committee, this project has been extended for vote 154 Uganda National Bureau of Standards to enhance salaries of existing staff to match with other scientists. That's Uganda National 5.4 billion, 5.8 billion, and to enable recruitment of additional staff, that's Uganda National 4.2 billion, be considered and adopted, Madam Speaker. 5.1 on the corrigenda, which was presented to the Committee for Financial 2025-26, the draft budget estimates. Madam Speaker and honorable colleagues, you will recall that on Tuesday, 13th May 2025, in the evening about this time, the corrigenda to the draft budget estimates for financial 25-26 was presented before Parliament. Honorable members, in line with the Public Finance Management Act, Regulation 16, Regulation 12, accounting officers may make corrections to the estimates for errors and omissions made at any time before Parliament considers the budget estimates for the vote. Madam Speaker and colleagues, accordingly, the corrigenda to the budget for financial 25-26 was prepared based on the following principles, and the principles are outlined therein. One is the request by accounting officers on the program budget system. So the amendments have been brought on 3 grounds. One is through the request by accounting officers on the program budgeting system. Number 2, they need to ensure that the proposed changes by accounting officers do not result in supplementary needs or areas. 3, the changes have been proposed because to correct errors and omissions that were done in the budget estimate, the budget framework paper and ministerial policy statements. So in conclusion, Madam Speaker, the net effect of the corrigenda to the draft estimate for financial 2025-26 is actually Uganda shillings 419.860 billion, which will increase the budget from 71.957 trillion to Uganda shillings 72.376 trillion. As a result of, 1, Madam Speaker, because of the recommendations we made in this House, the Ministry of Finance and Government has added and addressed more issues that were identified by this House, to the tune of 112.03 billion. That's part of that figure, among others. So there is the source of financing is because there is an increase in non-tax revenue. They project 58.03 billion. They are realizing that there is an increase in the local revenue for next financial year of 9.268 billion. Another one is, number 3 is reprioritization of fiscal space or projects to free resources for emerging funding needs amounting to 681.64 billion. Number 4 is additional allocation amounting to 1.03 trillion. And number 6, the increase in external funding to local climate adaptive facility, local project under Ministry of Local Government by 2.03 billion. So in conclusion, Madam Speaker and colleagues, Right, Honorable Speaker and colleagues, arising from the corrigenda adjustments, the following figures in the table below are recommended for supply and appropriation as expenditure for financial year 2025-26. The table below is a consolidation of Schedule A, B, and C in the annexure. The annexes are there, and colleagues, I hope with this, by this time, the annexes have been uploaded. And colleagues, I just want to conclude by saying, let me just handle this. Colleagues, I want to conclude by saying, Madam Speaker, I think we feel as a committee that in a long time, I think government has listened to this House. The increase in budget allocation, we made our recommendations to Cabinet was to the tune of 14 trillion. Government came back on our recommendations and addressed most of them to the tune of 4 trillion. This is unique, and I think it's a departure from the history we faced last year. And Madam Speaker, on behalf of the committee, we want to thank government. We want to thank the President, who is the ultimate Minister of Finance, for this observation. For example, we recommended that 100 billion be given to national medical stores for drugs. It was done. We recommended for ambulances. They have given health centers. They have given money for that. They have given money for the pet center for cancer, 60 billion. So many things, among others. I think they have given coffee to 60 billion to Northern Uganda. Most of the changes, including the last one, under Annex 3, which were done yesterday, were as a result of the recommendation of Madam Speaker of this House. And we want to commend government that in this process of consolidation, this spirit should continue and continue to address the needs of our people. I'd like to move.
Thank you so much.